We lost from this life not too long ago writes of God's welcome in her final book, Just Hospitality, God's Welcome in a World of Difference. She talks about the concept of hospitality as it relates to creating a safe space. A space perhaps as I described earlier in my own vision for Open Circle. She relates the concept of safe space to the Hebrew tradition of sanctuary, which is rooted in a tradition of cities of refuge. God commanded the people of Israel to create places of sanctuary, places where no blood could be shed, no retribution could take place, regardless of the past acts of the people who were now there. People were safe. Over time, this concept was expanded to include all people, not just the Israelites, and the notion of sanctuary and the sanctuary, or church as we call it today, began to flow together. According to Russell, the word sanctuary comes from the Latin sanctus, which means holy. The Latin sanctus comes from the Hebrew word kaddish, meaning again, holy. The right of protection for all persons is derived from God's holiness and provides what we know is the basic theological understanding of hospitality, both in Hebrew and Christian traditions. Human beings are created by God and are to be holy and to be treated as holy or sacred. Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel authored some of the world's finest books on suffering and God's grace. And he also notes the concept of sanctuary as it relates to human beings. He states every human being is a dwelling of God. Man or woman or child, Christian or Jewish or Buddhist, any person by virtue of being a son or a daughter of humanity is a living sanctuary whom nobody has the right to invade. Now we know that there are many places in the New Testament where our bodies, our very selves, are referred to as sanctuaries, temples, holy places. And so we are sacred, each of us. Our hearts, our souls, all are sacred before a living and loving God. God calls us then to extend this wild and wonderful welcome in ways that protect each other and all of God's creation. Who are we to welcome then? Or in other words, who is it that needs this safe space, this wild and wonderful welcome of God? For this, we simply turn to Jesus' reading in the temple in Nazareth. He stood up and read from Isaiah, "God's Spirit is on me. God chose me to preach the message of good news to the poor, sent me to announce pardon to prisoners and recovery of sight to the blind, to set the burdened and battered free, to announce this is God's year to act." Jesus handed the scroll back to the assistant and sat down. And then he said, "Today, this has come true in your hearing." I believe as we move forward into a full expression of God's